Good morning. Kate and I from Hull, which is in East Yorkshire in England, so tremendously good. Thanks very much to Kenny for the build-up there. I've got to say how impressed I am, how not dismayed like I thought you might be about the defeat of England. So well done. Well done for not letting that get you down. We tried to do that as well. So yeah, it's great to be here. In front of a lot of Scottish football fans after England. What's the first game of the World Cup? So, yeah, thank you very much for the invite. Okay, what I'm going to talk about over the next 25 minutes, as Chris said, is the campaign, what became called the No to Hull Tigers campaign, which Kate and I were a part of. And then just a little bit about what this has led to and what we might look to do in future on the basis of this. Basically, I'll do most of the talking, which is not normally what happens with Kate. Kate will correct me with things that I do wrong, which that is a thing which does happen a lot more. City Till We Die, what we were. Well, this was basically a coming together of Hull City supporters groups. For Hull City fans, it won't mean anything to you, I don't expect, but these are all the sort of key names of fanzines, message boards, relevant supporters groups who are known around Hull City, including, which I'll say a little bit more about later, the Tigers Cooperative Supporters Trust, which formed a lot of years ago and has been largely dormant for a while, sort of mothballed for a while, but did become involved with this. The only supporters group from Hull City that wasn't involved there is the Hull City Official Supporters Club, and again I'll say a little bit more about that later on. Why we came together? Well, because of this. When our owner, Assam Alam, said this, Hull City is irrelevant. I dislike the word cities because it is common. City is a lousy identity. And said, by next year I will change the name to Hull Tigers. I cannot afford to run the club by fans' feelings. His rationale for this was a commercial one. Such as it was. It wasn't a well fleshed out rationale, but he basically said, and you probably can't see that there, but he said, for commercial reasons, we need to expand the markets in the Far East. The team Tigers will be, if we call them Hull Tigers, that will be more applicable, it will be more recognised by the Far Eastern market, we'll make more money, we'll expand the brand, we'll develop the brand. He didn't give any evidence for that, and he didn't say why. Given that our nickname is the Tigers, and no problem with that, you know, being called the Tigers, he didn't say why having to change the name would actually help this. The key thing, of course, I think, is this. This was, it's fair to say, for residents of Hull, for Hull people, this was an actively hurtful thing. So yeah, it really was, because that really did sound like, you are common, you are lousy, and I think it's fair to say it was as upsetting, it was as jolting as that, and a lot of us instinctively felt this was just wrong. We just wanted no part of this. So that was why City Till We Die was formed. We were, I think it's fair to say, a fairly motley crew. We were, the best thing to say about us were, we were passionate about this, we were committed, we were determined, we wanted to stop the name change. We were united about that. Diversity and democracy is a polite way of saying we disagreed about just about everything initially about how to do it. The democracy side was good because we decided early on, we had so many different views that we really couldn't move on things until we did have agreement across the whole group, which was about, I think, 15 or so active people. That's pretty much, there's a few of us weren't there, but that's pretty much who it was. That was a strength and a weakness, I think, the diversity of the group. The strength was we genuinely did cover a lot of bases. The weakness was that sometimes we spent so much time discussing stuff that sometimes we should have got on and acted, and I think we got better about that as the campaign went on. One thing that I think was important that we got lucky with, we did have a range of skills that were important. We had people who were, we had some very strong people with skills in IT and presentation, which we used a lot. they had links to people who were very good designers who were willing to put their skills to our use. We had people who were good organisers, used to driving things forward, and that was helpful as well. And we had people, notably Kate, with excellent organisational skills and the ability to nag people until they actually did what they said they promised to do in a meeting, which I think is absolutely vital. And it was important that we had a clear plan, because I think this is very important to say. Assam Allen is certainly not a caricature football villain. He's often said he's a foreign owner. Well, he is in a sense, but he's been in our area for over 40 years. So he does get the area. He's a local businessman. He's a benefactor and philanthropist. You cannot say that. He's put money, other than that, he's put money into the university, put money into local health research. He bailed the club out when he took us over. When he took us over, we were in dire straits a few years ago. No getting away from that. Those were things that we had to deal with. And these were things that had to affect our strategy, because we knew from the start a lot of people were going to say a couple of things, which they did. One, well, it's his money, he can do what he likes. And two, if he takes his money out of it, what are you going to do then? And that did sometimes, and sometimes it's fair to say, the club hung that over us as a threat. So we had to find a way to manage this. And we felt we couldn't go in as hard as sometimes people have done in these sort of campaigns, I think. We'll talk about match pace lead in a minute, really. What this meant, first of all, we had to have certain aims established. We had to decide what we wanted to do, and we had to formulate a strategy to do this. Match pace lead maybe sounds to you like some nonsense business consultancy speak. If it does, that's because it's exactly what it is, because one of our committee members runs an extremely successful business consultancy. And he did school us into this. What this effectively meant, he said, we can't grab at every single thing the club says about this. We shouldn't react all the time. We need to decide what we want to do and then go and do it. First of all, we have to match what they're doing, and that was raising awareness of our campaign and why we thought this was a thing which had to be stopped. Then we have to set the pace and hold our nerve when the going gets difficult, which it did do at times. And then finally, you take the lead, you get ahead of the game, and you can set the agenda. Now, this did sound like hokum to us. That's the polite English word for, you know. I'll not saying it because we're getting filmed now. It sounded nonsense to us, but it made increasing sense as we went on, and we did start to see these things happen. And this was what we did, what we decided to do. We decided we should be polite, we should be positive, and we should be non-disruptive, certainly to the playing side, because I think that was key. So a lot of people wanted to say, and again it did get said at times, you're distracting the manager, you're distracting the team. We distracted them all the way to the FA Cup final, and we distracted them to staying in the Premier League, so I don't think it went that badly, but those are things we got said to us. So what did we do? We got some badges made saying no to Hull Tigers, and we gave them away free, and that became extremely popular, and I'll say a little bit more about this later on. We handed out loads of leaflets, yours truly there, handing out leaflets at the games, explaining what we thought, explaining what we meant. And again, we did try and hand them out rather than foist them on people and let them chuck them away. We just tried to give them to people who were interested, tried to stay polite, positive. Set up Twitter and Facebook accounts. And again, I think it's important to say this. It's very important that you do have people with Twitter and Facebook who really get it, who really like it, who really understand it and really engage with it, rather than just having them sat there expecting they'll do things on their own. I'll talk more about that in a moment. We had scarves made, City Till We Die scarves, which were very, very popular and also made us a bit of money. We only flogged them at £5 a time, but that still made us a bit of money on them, and that was able to raise some campaign funds for that, to buy other things, to buy leaflets, to buy badges. And we organised it on 19 minutes and 4 seconds of every game, because the club was formed in 1904, we would sing the song City Till I Die. Again, that wasn't disruptive, that's a standard Hull City fans song, as it is for some other clubs as well. But we sung it specifically at 19 minutes and 4 seconds. That became a big focal point for everything we did. We had a giant flag designed and made. That was a big thing, of carting that around. And we encouraged fans to sign it, to sign up if they were for the campaign, to try and involve people. It's all about involving people, this. We set up a membership scheme, membership cards, wristbands, and we set up a postcard campaign, encouraged people to send postcards to the Football Association to say that they were against Hull Tigers, the renaming of the club. And again, when we had media, times on the media, this was quite important. Again, we got, I think I'd say Kate laid this on the line for us early on at the start, read the Riot Act to a number of us who've been very vocal about the name change on our Twitter accounts, on local radio, on message boards, basically saying if we are going to say we're being polite and positive and constructive, we can't keep saying some of the things that we've been saying, so basically you need to button your lips about some things about the club that you may not agree with. And we sat and sulked a bit, some of this, but I think we pretty much adhered to that. And we got a response. By the start of this year, basically this is where we were. We got a petition. This wasn't actually City Till We Die petition, but we publicised it a lot. 15,000 names, 30,000 leaflets handed out, 12,000 badges, 1,200 scarves, 20,000 postcards sent to the FA. When we went to the FA, we said, "Have you been getting our postcards?" And said, "Yeah, the person who receives the letters would like to thank you particularly for that element of your campaign." We thought it meant the message had got through anyway. Membership, we've got 1,700 members. To set that in context, we had about 17,000 season ticket holders. So we're in a minority there, very much so. To set it in another context, it was easily the biggest Hull City fans group. The official supporters club at that time was about 1,400 members. So we had, and given that that was in about a 3-month period that we did that, it was a not unimpressive show of support. Lots of support, Twitter and Facebook, and 4,000 signatures on the giant flag. We had one person count the signatures, and then afterwards we told him, because of the specific dimensions, he only needed to have counted 1 square foot, and we didn't tell him that. Very keen lad, it was good for him to learn lessons like that. Support for the campaign. Polls that were done across the club, sorry it's not showing up very well there, but good strong support for the campaign across loads of fans groups. And also, interestingly, 2 particularly interesting ones here. This one is the Hull City official supporters club voted 60% against the name change. That was important because the leadership of the Hull City supporters club, or a lot of the leadership, or one key element perhaps I should say, being a little bit careful, was very much pro-chairman, pro-owner, and basically encouraged the members that the chairman should be able to do what he liked. So once 60% of them said they were against the name change, we felt that was an important element of this. Anna Reid has quoted the Hull Daily Mail, the local paper, because again these are often not going to be football people. 69% of them were against any name change altogether. So this was, I think, again important. This was not just a football thing, this was a community thing. People didn't want this name change. So, what the fans did. Basically, we got shows of support from fans all over the place. And we encouraged this, and we worked up this a lot on Facebook and Twitter. I'm going to just ask Kate to talk about that because she was our Twitter guru on this.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, Twitter was an incredible, powerful tool in this campaign. Facebook as well, to some extent, obviously too, but I don't know if you use Twitter or Facebook, the immediacy of Twitter is quite powerful because there's a lot of two-way dialogue. And from the start, we understood that fan engagement had to be key to this campaign. And obviously the joy of Twitter and of Facebook, it's a worldwide thing. So you're not just talking to people in Hull, you're reaching the entire globe. And in fact, we did reach the entire globe. A couple of things I'll point out there for you. We talked to what we call ourselves ordinary fans, obviously, but we did as well so try and get a hold of a few celebrity people just to kind of raise the profile of the campaign. The girl at the top there with the talking tie scarf is a young lady called Gemma Oaten, who's in Emmerdale, I believe, that you might know. She's got connections to Hull. But it wasn't just about famous people. The chap down here in the South Atlantic on I think it was an engineering mission down there, the young lady next to him, a young lady called Michelle, who was on active service with the RAF in a war zone. And yet, to these people, it was really important that to them that they actually said they would believe in what you're doing. We tried to engage with the fans by making sure that they could contact us, by if they followed us on Twitter, making sure we followed them back, and then also trying to set up little competitions saying who can do the funniest thing with a no-till tigers bag, get it on your dog, get it on your cat. The chicken, Mabel, there was an absolute star of the show. I don't know how many retweets of that we had. It was certainly hundreds.
So the campaign flagged.
Get the chicken
back on again, and it got things going again. Unsung hero of the name change campaign.
And of course, then there were individuals who were key across a range of ages. There was young Tommy in the middle there, who was the first banner we ever saw. He just did that off his own bat. Hooligram next to him, who came completely unasked for. She turned up one day and said hooligan. It actually says Hooligram Pensioners Wing. This is we're not going to die yet, in response to an accusation that our owner made towards us that we could die when we want. She was. So as you can see, it was fun. It wasn't just hard work. It was about getting fans on board and it being fun across all sorts of different settings, and again reaching not only a local and a national audience but a global audience as well, and people wanted to join in.
Yeah, why some images were popular, it's impossible to say.
No. So, going on from this reach that we got through the social media especially, it soon became clear to us that this issue was not just about Hull, it was about the football family. And in fact, to this day, our support across the football family as a whole is stronger than it is in Hull. Because obviously in Hull there is potentially something to lose, whereas I think most of the football family look at this and say, hang on a minute, this could be us next season. This is the tip of an iceberg. If we let this happen, it could happen to us. And obviously there were clubs that were particularly, Kenny's already mentioned Cardiff, they were particularly on board with this. Coventry City, you're probably aware, are not allowed to play in their stadium, have been asked to play at Northampton all season. They were obviously very, very strongly in favour of what we were doing. But it got to the stage where it was just, we weren't even asking anymore. Clubs were ringing up saying, what can we do to help you? We had members from all sorts of different clubs across the country, across the world again. And then these banners at the bottom. The first one is from Middlesbrough, from the Riverside. Again, totally unsolicited by us. We didn't suggest they do it, they just did it. And Middlesbrough, you know, they don't like us. We don't particularly have any affinity with them. I mean, who does have an affinity with another club, really? And yet that appeared in our cup game against them. And there was a lot of genuine support from them. And then it got even more crazy because the one on the right of that is from a club called FC Ingolstadt in Germany. It was in the second division in Germany. That appeared. And then the left-hand side one is in Strasbourg. And this just kept happening. And at the end of the season, we ended up with, West Ham did it, Crystal Palace did it. You know, people were just doing it without us even asking to raise this awareness. And it made a huge difference to, well, not only our morale, because we thought, blimey, you know, we really need to do this, but also to people in the campaign and the wider football family who thought, right, come on, let's all get together and see if we can take on the animal, as it were. It's worth doing.
I mean, even though that's, it is amazing, as Kate said, still the most amazing thing of English in Strasbourg is Middlesbrough to me. Because Middlesbrough don't even hate us. You know, it's not a big rivalry, they're just coldly indifferent. They are really, in a proper football sense, just sort of despise us in a casual football way. But then, and their red faction, who are what might be called proper naughty at times, you know, for them just to have done that, it was astonishing, it really was. We did get media support as well, high-profile people in the media, Richard Scudamore, coming out and speaking out about this, that he preferred the name not to be changed, the Premier League chief exec. Adam Lowthorpe, former player, who's the East Riding FA chief exec, when he put on Twitter how much he was against it, that was, I think, really important for us and for morale. Colin Murray, formerly 5 Live, now TalkSport presenter, I can't imagine ever calling the club by the name Hull Tigers. Mick Dennis, Daily Express, high-profile reporter, supported us. Didi Harman there got talking to one of our committee members on a train there. The fantasy football team sent them a scarf and they showed they ought to be photoed. And again, just to keep, it seems to be banging on about the Twitter, Facebook stuff, but we did, it's the best way to keep this in the public eye and keep people knowing what we're doing and keep this current. And we did get, when the club formally put the name change through, the FA did a big consultation process and we were asked to be part of that. We thought that was a success in the first place. Just bear in mind, there was nothing official about us really at this point. You know, we were still making a lot of noise, doing a lot of things, but you know, they asked the official supporters club and then they asked us. And if they'd have said exactly what mandate do these people have, that would have been a bit trickier, because then we just got to pointing about, well, a lot of people support us. We didn't have much else to say. We did work hard on what we did for this. We put together a big submission as to why this shouldn't happen, that was the submission A, submission B thing. We then went down, Kate and I were part of the 4-person delegation, went down to speak to the FA's committee about this and explain why we thought this shouldn't happen. But again, a lot of the other work that went on was in lobbying people at the FA, whoever the FA might consult. That was local politicians, local councillors, the East Riding FA, it was the Minister for Culture, Media and Sport. It was basically, this was what took the time, trying to get audiences with these people, or at least emailing these people, trying to get responses, trying to get them on board with us. And we won. Yay! Fantastic. I'll get told off for that because some people at the club felt we were triumphalistic. And I say we won, and I'm a bit careful with that, because this may not have gone away. Club owner hasn't gone away. Season ticket renewals came out this season with no mention of Hull City on them anywhere. There's a bit of a grey area with the FA. The FA can control what is on the names of the what is in the stadia, what is around game time. But exactly how far that stretches, that's the thing which hasn't entirely been tested. This may not have gone away. So this is a little bit about what we do need to do now. We are now a members' organisation. We've got about 1,850 members now. We have got an elected committee. Are we still a campaign group? In theory, the campaign's over, but it's a bit like, in some ways, you sort of feel perhaps it should only be mothballed in case we do need to do something like this again. One thing that we probably do need to do, and we're in the process of consulting our members about it, is seeing if we should become a supporters trust, because we're not part of Supporters Direct, although, as we've said, we've got Tigers Cooperative on board, and their membership are in the process of voting to see whether they will step down and merge with us and we can become a supporters trust. So again, the thing that's impressed me more than anything is just how much supporters of other clubs, how much people have been willing to show support and how wide this has got. But again, at the moment, we're probably in the position of deciding, are we a campaign group? Are we supporters trust? Where do we need to go? What did we learn in the end? Decide what you're going to do and formulate a strategy, and make sure you've got the resources to deliver the strategy. And the resources, a lot of it was time. This took up an inordinate amount of time. If we'd known at the start how much this would take over what we'd done, whether we would all have done it, it was a bit, by the end of it, it's fair to say at times relationships between people who've been friends a long time got fractured on this, because we were working so hard to try and do things, try and make things happen. The key thing, I think, is if the strategy is working, stick with it through the bad times. There's hardly a day when some of our supporters didn't say we should be more aggressive, we're being too polite. We'd get some mad suggestion that why don't we invade the pitch, lie down in the middle of it, get the police to carry us away. We'd say, well, I'm not quite sure that fits in with the campaign as a whole, but the other side of it, you got criticism from the club. Kate's mentioned we were called hooligans. The owner of our club said to us, you're hooligans, city till we die, you can die whenever you like. It's a big thing, it's a big and unpleasant thing to have said to you that. It really is, as a fan of a club. When a lot of us have been fans of the club for over 30 years, you're told you can die whenever you like. And sticking with what you did because it was working, because it was the strategy we'd agreed on, and above all because it was the right thing, was not always easy. We're very glad we did. Thank you very much for your time.